Now, to share how the candidate forum will work, I will now turn it over to the co-president of District 28 President's Council, Jessica Zillow, and Treasurer Michelle Staples.
So welcome to the 2021 District 28 Education Council elections. I am Jessica Zillow. I am co-president of President's Council, and I have with me today Michelle Staples, who will be helping me moderate this forum and ask you questions. I'd also like to thank Dr. Pate and Sonia Rieta for their continuous help. And Dr. Pate is our superintendent, and Sonia is our fabulous family leadership coordinator. And I couldn't do this without them. I would also like to thank our President's Council for hosting the forum, for all of your assistance. I also want to thank all the candidates and their families who made the effort to be here today and tonight. Parents, it is your responsibility on behalf of our community to select the best candidates for this council. During this forum, you will hear the candidates talk about why they should be elected to serve on the council. I recommend that you take notes, which you can share with your family or fellow parents who may not have been able to attend the meeting tonight, and use it as a reference when you go online to submit and cast your ballot the first 2 weeks of May, which is May 1st through May 11th. Before we meet the candidates individually, let's go over the rules of this virtual forum and our community norms. So we like to make sure, I can't read my notes, sorry. So the forum ground rules, each of the candidates will initially get 2 minutes for their initial question. We're going to plan on trying to have 3 questions today, so please make sure you keep to the time limit, and hopefully we'll be able to each have you also give a closing statement, which will be 1 minute. The order in which you will speak will be listed on the item on the spreadsheet that I can see, and so we will call you up by name when it is your turn to talk. We do ask the candidates be polite and respectful. Personal attacks or personally intrusive questions will not be allowed. Please keep yourself muted when not speaking. Refrain from interrupting the candidates or speaking without being invited by the moderator. Please be concise in your responses. Also keep in mind that this is being translated, so it would be nice if you could keep it at an even keel, let's say, so that the moderators can keep up with us. When your time is up, you will be muted to allow the other candidates an equal opportunity to speak. Remember, this is your opportunity to introduce yourself to the community and demonstrate that you will be a valuable member of the Education Council. And with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. So the first question that we're going to be asking is to introduce yourself, and to also please tell us something about yourself and why are you running for an Education Council seat. And to get started, I will call on Lu Zhao to go ahead and answer the question.
Hi, my name is Lu Zhao. It's an honor to be here to talk to us, to talk to folks. So I have 2 children enrolled in District 28, a 7th grader in HOSI, and a 2nd grader in PS 196. So what is the reason to drive me to run for CEC member? Well, very simple. What happened in recent years in New York City public school system really worries me. So as someone identify myself as a liberal in politics, I do believe that government can and should do a lot to help society to get better. The question is how, and the devil is in the details. So a lot of recent policies fall in the category of superficial and symbolic gestures to help politicians' agenda, instead of really targeting the root cause and true problems in our education systems. So this is what I want to do to have a voice in this education policy discussion and representing the parents' point of view to protect our interests, to challenge and check any policy put upon us by the government and by the officials, to really help our children for their future. Thank you.
The next speaker is Gary Zadanowski, and would you like me to repeat the question?
No, I'm pretty good with that, thank you.
You're welcome.
First, my name is Gary Zadanowski. Good evening, everybody. And I have two daughters, one who's now in college, but she was in the public school system growing up. I have a 13-year-old who's now in 8th grade. I've been a New Yorker my entire life and grew up going to public school. And the reason I'm now interested in running for this position is because I just find it appalling to see the deterioration of the education system throughout the entire city. The quality of education, the politics that are involved, the agendas of the teachers, the unions, nobody seems to be concerned about our children. Even what's happened for the past year or plus, our children have been locked in their bedrooms virtually for 14 months. And seeing what's being taught in school during this time and how the teachers are reacting to everything, they don't even care about what the children have gone through. They just seem to have their own agendas. They want to march forward with that. And I'm very concerned because our children are just not being prepared for their future. To me, the most important thing that separates a human being from any living species is the ability to think. And our children aren't being given the opportunity to think or afforded an education that allows them to develop their reasoning skills, their thinking skills, their researching skills. And I really just am concerned about what's going on.
Your time is up.
Thank you very much. The next speaker will be Howard Pollack.
Thank you. Thank you very much to the President's Council and FACE for allowing me this opportunity. My name is Howard Pollack, and I'm seeking your vote for a position on the CEC for District 28. I'm a proud father of a Halsey 6th grader and a proud dad of 3rd graders, all going to school in our district. I'm currently a member of CEC 28 and serve on many committees, including the Back to School Committee and the Equity Committee. Previous to this, I was tasked with finding an administrative assistant for our CEC, along with the president of our council. Additionally, when our CEC was Zoom bombed, all my colleagues entrusted me to address this matter with the proper investigative agencies. My colleagues also elected me to serve as the CEC representative to the D28 Diversity Working Group, which held meetings prior to the pandemic. I am grateful, very grateful, for the trust my colleagues have placed in me, and I hope you will share it. There is so much more work to be done, so much more work to be done to ensure that our kids receive the type of education that they should, that each school has the resources they need on an equitable basis to make sure that kids can advance, especially in light of the pandemic. And I want to be on the CEC to ensure that this happens. And I promise you, I will fight to ensure that it does. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. So just to repeat the question, just so everybody remembers, again, thank you. We're just asking the candidates to give a welcome speech, a quick intro about themselves, and to also tell us something about yourself and why you are running for an education council seat. And with that, I will call on Ralph Greer.
Good evening. Thank you for the invitation. Can you hear me? Okay. Thank you for the invitation. My name is Ralph Greer Jr. I'm a single dad. I'm raising two girls. One is in second grade. The other one is in fourth grade. And one of the reasons why I decided to take a run at the seat over here is that as an essential worker and a single dad, we faced a lot of stumbling blocks when it came to the pandemic and getting the girls prepared, for school and in-school learning, out-of-school learning, and a lot of things weren't available at the time, and we had to wait. And then there was like a down period where they weren't involved with school at all. So I think when it comes to certain emergencies, we need to be better prepared. Example like the pandemic, and then if anything else is in the future. My background, I've received numerous awards from City Council, State Senate, the governor's office, things like that, because I also do after-school programs as well as summer camp programs. I was aired 2 years in a row on News One in regards to at-risk, low at-risk kids that weren't able to afford gifts and things like that for Christmas. And I was also able to go into certain high schools, junior high schools, and elementary schools to talk to kids about guns, gangs, peer pressure, the pipeline to jail, the importance of education, and things of that matter. And basically just being a sounding board for some kids and so some single parent families that weren't able to be a sounding board at the time of this pandemic, and to better have resources available for us at that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker will be Elisa Bryn. Do you need me to repeat the question, or are you okay?
No. Thank you so much for the introduction. And thank you to the parents who are listening to all of us panelists present on ourselves. I'm Elisa Bryn. I'm a former class parent. I'm an NYU educated attorney who practiced for many years before resigning to focus on my family, which includes an elementary school student at 101 and a middle school student at Halsey. Like the other parents running for a CEC seat, I'm passionate and concerned about my children's education. If elected to the CEC, I will also bring my professionalism, work ethic, and energy to this role, together with an interest in getting to know each school in this district and having each public school parent know me. I have started visiting schools and engaging with parents in this district, including schools outside of my zone, and intend to continue that process. I am here to advocate for the full resumption of in-person learning as soon as possible in every district school, and fixing academic gaps pre-COVID and those caused by the school closures, while maintaining popular programs such as Gifted and Talented. Why am I running? Specifically because the elected leadership and their appointees running our school system have not prioritized the needs and welfare of students and their families over the last year. If elected, I will be in a better position to advocate for positive changes for our district students. Willfully or negligently, the elected leadership has not missed a single opportunity to miss opportunities to ease burdens on us, the public school families. Whether it was not arranging any Zoom classes last year for a large number of public school students, not starting the school year on time this September. I feel that I have the potential with my future co-CEC representatives to advocate for positive changes for the benefit of our students. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. The next speaker will be Barbara Williams, and I'll ask the same question. Would you like me to reread the question?
No, that's okay. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Barbara Williams. I'm a single mother of two, a junior in high school and a senior in MS 358 middle school. I've been the PTA president for the past 3 years. I'm also co-president on the President's Council and the current vice president of CEC 28. Again, I'm a single mom, I'm a nurse. I'm very passionate about education, and I'm seeking your vote tonight to continue the work that I have started. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Ted Chang. Ted, would you like me to repeat the question?
I'm good, thank you. So thank you, everyone. My name is Ted Chang. And first, I just wanted to thank everyone, school staff and families for everything this year. I want to thank all of our school staff, from the administrators to the custodians, to the teachers, to everyone, for really just pulling together and trying to keep our schools open and running in multiple modalities and planning on the fly. I honestly don't think that they get enough credit for all the hard work that they've done and having to respond to so many changes in policy this year. And I think we all, need to recognize they stepped up in a time of crisis and really contributed to making sure that our school system was successful. And our families did the same. This was a really, really tough year for all of us. And we all really just, there's light at the end of the tunnel, but it's been a really tough year. In terms of why I'm running, I'll just, briefly state, I've been a CEC member for 2 years. I first got interested in working on district issues in a few ways. I was actually an English teacher when I lived in Taiwan, and for 2 years as a young person. And so that gave me some insights into education. Here in New York, as a parent, I had been following CEC meetings in other districts, and as well as our own. And third, I was sort of, wondering why certain schools had gotten funding for projects and others didn't. And so I actually created a project for PS 54 in Richmond Hill to get them participatory budgeting funds, and I was successful. So that's kind of how I came to the CEC in the first place. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just going to repeat the question for the last 3 speakers, and just so that the audience also understands what we're asking. We're just asking us to give us a brief intro and to also tell us something about yourself and why are you running for an education council seat. And with that, I'm going to ask Nancy Lugasi to go ahead and speak next.
Hi, everybody. Thank you very much, everybody hosting and everybody participating and everybody listening at home. My name is Nancy Lugasi. I am the parent of twin 2nd grade boys at PS 101. And I believe that parents should have strong representation for the decisions made about our children's education. There needs to be true partnership between families and the administration to right this ship. Teamwork is the only way to address these inequalities, these learning gaps, and just the policies in general that got put into place in 2020 that we're all still kind of fumbling our way through into 2021. I've been an advocate for change in my children's school before and throughout COVID, and would like to serve the larger community. I've been an involved member of the PA since my children were in kindergarten. I've led fundraising and community outreach initiatives. I've also taken steps to address the lack of Black representation in my school. In February 2020, before the pandemic, I met with our administration. I had a lot of concerns about the lack of representation and authorship prior to the pandemic, and I feel it's a strong button that we need to push on going forward. Then the pandemic hit. As I'm sure a lot of you felt, there was a lot of challenges with our school's response. 101 had made a lot of choices about programming, one of them that removed ELA for entire grades at a time. I successfully organized the second grade parents, performed research, did presentations, worked with the teachers, and ultimately worked with the administration. So we were able to get ELA not only for the second grade, but first and kindergarten. So that was a huge win for us, but the work is not done. I'm a parent, I'm a voice, I care about my community, and I want to work within the schools to make it better for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Nimia Lacroix. Sorry if I mispronounced that.
Hi, everyone. My name is Naimia, and it's pronounced Naimia. I'll have to do the wave. Thank you so much for having me. I am a parent, of course, and I have 2 young kids in elementary school. I'm also a graduate of the New York City public school system. So I have done elementary school all the way up to high school, and my undergrad is from St. John's here in New York. I have traveled to a number of states, so my kids have also been educated in Atlanta, Georgia, and San Jose, California. Now that we're back in New York, I'd like to be an advocate, not just for my children in my district, which is District 28, but also for other parents as well. I don't want to move out of my district. I like my district. I like my neighborhood. And this is a neighborhood that I'm familiar with. It's my childhood neighborhood. But I want the school systems to be better. I want to work better with the teachers. I want my kids to have opportunities that they would have had in other states, or if I move them to a private school or to a Catholic school or to a charter school, I want them to have those educations and those access to those educations. And I'd like them to have a better public school education than I did. Professionally, I'm a paralegal. I've worked in the tech space. And so I'm tasked with being detail-oriented, saving company money, and being diligent about what I do day to day. And I'd like to take those skill sets and serve you as your CEC member. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. The last speaker for this question will be Kenneth Jin.
Hi, my name is Kenneth Ginn. Thank you all for allowing me to speak this evening. I've lived in New York for the past over 30 years. I have 2 sons, 8-year-old, 2.5-year-old, and 1 on the way that's due in September. With this pandemic, I've learned that I had to become a second grade teacher. And it really enlightened my eyes as to what they're doing or what they're not doing in our school system. So I wanted to become more involved, and that is why I'm running for election for this term around. I feel like so much more can be done and should be done, and our elected officials must be held accountable for what they're doing and for what they're not doing. We must be more vocal, and this is the way that I see to do it. So thank you all very much.
Thank you very much to all the candidates for answering our first question. In order to share the duties, I'm going to ask Michelle Staples to go ahead and ask the candidates question number 2. Michelle?
Yes. Hi, good evening. Thank you so much. One moment. Okay. Good evening. Question number 2. Have you ever...
There you go.
Okay, thank you. Can you still see me? Okay.
Again.
One moment.
Michelle?
Yes, I'm here.
Can you start the first question and we'll work on your video?
Okay. Not a problem. Question number 2. Have you ever attended a meeting for this or any other education council, and what experience do you bring that you feel will benefit our council? And this question will go to our first candidate, Lu Zhao.
Hi. Yes. I mean, this format, I think it's kind of a new, like candidates running for the CEC. But the CEC meeting for District 28, I had been attending for a few times in the past. Some, in person, some online. For example, once, I think in 2019, there was a few meetings. We couldn't get into the room, because of the limited capacity. So we have to, watch it online. But yes, I pay a great attention to what's happening in our district. That's really drive me to run for this this membership. What I can bring to the council, I think there's two things. The first thing is I think this is most important, is that I'm a parent and a very dedicated parent. So this is, I make myself, it's very representing of, a lot of parents, have the same interest and same mindset. And also, as a professional, I'm a quantitative analyst in the financial industry. So analytic skill is my bread and butter. So I think this is also very important. So when a policy, was announced or put on us, and to understand what it is and get the bottom of it, and really, try to challenge it or check it to the maximum, is very important for us, because a lot of policy was wrapped up in a very beautiful, pretty package that, sometimes you just look at the high level, you cannot really see anything.
Your time is up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll move to Gary Zendowski. And if you'd like me to repeat the question, I can.
Yes, it's Gary Zadanowski. Yes, you can repeat the question, please.
Have you ever attended a meeting for this or any other education council? And what experience do you bring that you feel will benefit our council?
I've served on the Title I board for the past 2 years at MS 217. Other than that, I've not been on any other education councils. As far as my experience, I too am very analytical. All my work has been in analysis. But my whole working career, I think I've had the skill not only to look at things at an analytical viewpoint, but also as a common sense viewpoint, and to be able to work with people within different levels within organizations, be they senior managers all the way down to secretaries, and to be able to communicate with them on a one-on-one basis and not treat people differently. And so I think the best thing that I can bring is being able to relate to different people, to look at problems, look at them from different angles, and come up with solutions that work best for everybody. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next candidate would be Howard Pollock.
Thank you. It's Howard Pollock. Regarding the question, I have attended every single CEC meeting for the past 2 years, except one, when I was out of state. I've attended my children's PTA meetings at Halsey and at PS 196. I have served on the PS 196 parent-teacher leadership team, which was established by the principal for the purpose of providing a rapid response for parental concerns directly to the teachers. And on a personal note, I've been an active part of the Valentine's Day Dance Committee, the Halloween Committee, the Winter Festival Committee, the Book Sale Committee, and voluntarily clocked time for many teachers during parent-teacher conferences. I know what it takes to be a volunteer, an active volunteer in the school, because I care about my kids' education. I care about the education for all the kids in the district. It's extremely important to me, and I'm willing to put the time in necessary. Additionally, I've advocated many times for PS 196 on behalf of the school in front of both elected officials and city agencies. I'm passionate, as other candidates have said, about doing the work, putting in the work to ensure that our kids receive quality education and the schools in our district receive equitable resources. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next candidate will be Ralph Greer Jr.
Yes, this is sort of my first kind of sitting when it comes to education. However, I've been involved with education for over 20 years. I've have a nonprofit that's called Ralph Education Recreational Computer Services, Inc., where we do after-school programs as well as summer programs, as well as going into different junior high schools, elementary schools, and in regards to helping kids deal with peer pressure, anger management, teen violence, guns, gangs, drugs, and things of that nature. I've been involved with my daughter's PTA meetings. I've even been even though they were Girl Scouts, I was the Boy Scout of the Girl Scouts, and that was fun as well. So basically, just being a single parent and knowing how everything went with this pandemic, it just opened my eyes a lot more of certain things that could be done and that's needed for us as single parents, because a lot of opportunities are not really available for single parents. And I think that I would be able to let them know from common practice and being in the trenches when certain things were going on to advocate and give a voice and make suggestions of things that we need. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next candidate would be Elisa Bryn.
Elisa, but thank you so much.
Elisa,
Everyone mispronounces it.
Do you need the question reread?
No, thank you. Thank you for offering though. You know, at one of the last CEC meetings I attended, when the meetings were held in person, a young lady stood up and talked about the absence of resources at her school. And that really resonated with me because my junior high school and high school offered very limited educational options. In fact, not a single AP course was offered to my high school class. We lacked equipment and advisors to compete in regional academic contests, etc. Even the top ranked students, and I was included in that group, were provided with limited or no advice regarding college applications, and were not advised to sit for any particular exams beyond those legally required to graduate, such as Regents exams. I bring that experience as someone who's risen above those limitations to my role at the CEC, if I'm lucky enough to be elected. I also bring my parents' collective experiences. Both of them grew up in poverty in the South Bronx, with mothers each who did not complete high school and spoke English as a second language, and both achieved dramatic academic and later, thank God, business success with the foundation of an excellent public school education and nothing else behind them other than their work ethic and drive. Again, if I'm lucky enough to be elected, I bring the experience of working on extremely complex transactions at my prior firm and the experience of dealing with diverse parties at different levels of education and different New York City agencies, including extensively the New York City Department of Finance. At my prior firm, I was known for creating out-of-the-box solutions and even creating the legal format for how to address certain issues, again, in a transactional setting. These are all skill sets, I think, that would translate very well to some of the struggles that we'll be facing over the next 12 months and 24 months. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next candidate will be Miss Barbara Williams.
Yes, thank you again. I have been to several CEC meetings in both 28, 29, and 27. PTA meetings, of course, I'm the president, so I have to be there. SLT meetings, president council meeting, being on the CEC, with my colleagues currently, we have passed 2 resolutions, the Diwali holiday and also the anti-Asian resolution. I've worked with my CEC for 2 years, with my SLT, I'm sorry, for 2 years, along with my principal of 358, and also got a stoplight put up at 164 in Hillside that we worked on for, like I said, nearly 3 years, but finally got it done. I'm experienced as a parent leader. I have the vim, vigor, and vivacity to work hard, to fight for the voice of the ones that can't speak for themselves, and fight for children's education. And that's why I'm here. And I just need the opportunity to continue what I started. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I will reread question 2 again, also for our listeners or anybody else that needs to hear. Have you ever attended a meeting for this or any other education council? And what experience do you bring that you feel will benefit our council? And that would be Ted Chang.
Hi again, my name is Ted Chang, and I've been a council member for 2 years. I think one of the things that people do not realize is how many meetings you end up attending as a council member. I have just attended countless numbers of meetings. It's you know, CEC 28 meetings, CEC 28 committee meetings. I've attended council meetings in other districts, just to observe and learn, because there's a lot of stuff you can learn by seeing how other councils do their work. I've attended panel for educational policy meetings, education council consortium meetings, meetings with the chancellor, district leadership team meeting here in 28. Every once in a while, a president's council meeting in 28, community board meetings, town halls, marches. You know, I chat frequently with CEC members in other districts just to hear what's happening elsewhere. I know principals, I know staff in other parts of New York City, just some of those contexts, I think, just help me kind of have a feel for what's happening in the DOE informally. I'm a CEC, I'm a 28 liaison to the school leadership team at many schools in our district, and I attend a lot of those meetings, and that really has given me a lot of insights into what's happening in our different schools. I go to the SLT meetings at MS 217, YECA, MELS, MS 358, Redwood Middle School, Queens Collegiate, PS 182, PS 349, you know, and of course I've attended my SLT, a couple of SLT meetings at PS 144. So I try to just attend as much as possible. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next candidate would be Nancy Lugassi.
Hi, thank you. This would be my first engagement with the CEC proper. However, since my children entered into PS 101 in 2017, 18, I've been an active member of the PA. So I sit in on every PA call. I also engage with the SLT. So I sit in on every call, and I always put forth an agenda that I want submitted to my administration before the SLT call. So I have found a way to have been able to push through initiatives that way. I am very comfortable working with my administration. I've probably sat in on, I don't know, about a call or a meeting about once a month, whether it be with our principal, our vice principal, or the principal for our lower school. I have always been an active member. I have always been a participant, and I've always been a voice. So I'm hoping that I can translate that work and that effort and that passion to future meetings for the CEC. Again, because parents need a voice, we need resources, and we need to figure out a way to re-engage the entire student population. We need to get these parents back. We need to get these kids back, and we need for the parents and the families to buy what we are selling. We need to get people excited about school again. Last year was horrible. This year is terrible. We need to be thinking about what we can do to hit the ground running in the fall so that people aren't just coming back into the classrooms, but they're running back to the classrooms, that they're excited to be there, that they want to engage with the school material that is totally lost over Zoom this year. And I want to be a vocal part of the CEC from the parent side because I want school to be fun and I want to make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next candidate, Namaya LaCroix. Please forgive me.
Thank you, Ms. Staples. It's actually Naimia, so I'm going to do the wave again. Naimia. So no, this would be my first CEC council meeting, as I just moved back to New York, probably about a year ago, a little bit before the pandemic hit. Like I said, I have 2 young kids in elementary school. So what I bring to the forum and what I would bring to the council is I have a really great sense of humor, which is something that you need as a paralegal outside of your skill set. And I can deal with difficult personalities. I can deal with high-strung personalities. I can deal with people from different walks of life because I have to, and I had to do that professionally. I don't have meetings fatigue because as a paralegal, you have to go to meetings. I'm in meetings all day long. I've advocated for my kids as I am balancing or being a working parent. If you hear noise in the background, those are 2 little ones fighting over limited resources, i.e. toys. So like I was saying, I am an advocate. I have a really great sense of humor, and I have worked with difficult personalities, and I will advocate for our children because my children are part of the school system. My children are attending those Zoom classes along with your children. My children are getting frustrated being at home and not being physically in school. And I'm a parent who's also worried about COVID, who is worried about our education system, who's worried about our lack of resources for our public education kids. And I think that we should have the same amount of resources that private school has or Catholic school has or charter schools have. And so I'm going to strongly advocate for that because it not only benefits me, but it benefits parents who look like me. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And we have now Kenneth Jin.
Hi. This is also would be my first time on the CDC. I've been to a couple of meetings, PTA. I've been to 1 school board meeting. I have a strong voice, but I also like to listen as well. I think that's very important. And I think we all need to play together in the sandbox, so to speak. And there's so much that needs to be brought to the table. There's so much that more that should be done, and that's why I stepped into the ring here. And this is very new to me, but I'm really willing to stand up for my kids and stand up for our school system, particularly to the government that's really telling us what to do. And although we've been sitting back listening to them, I don't think have been listening to us. And so I want to make sure that all of our voices are heard. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And then we would move on to question 3. And do we want to start from the bottom of the list this time?
We can.
Yes, please. I mean, give me
That's only
some
fair.
time to think. Okay, thank you for raising that up. Yeah.
Right. So we'll start with, and that's okay with you, Ms. President, that's okay to continue on with question 3?
Sure, yes.
Okay, so question 3, I'll read it. What do you feel are important issues in our district, and how will you elevate the voice of our community to address them? And this will go to Barbara Williams.
I wasn't ready. Thank you. Well, GNT is a very hot topic right now. Also, parents are concerned about them changing the 6 feet to 3 feet apart, which I think is ridiculous, because how kids are gonna have lunch in a classroom with 20 kids and everybody take their masks off to eat, and they don't have another room to put them in. So those are topics that we're talking about right now, which are very important to to our students and going back to school, which they need for their social and emotional well-being. I'm sorry, there was a 2-part. What's the other part? If you could repeat for me.
It's okay, sure. What do you feel are important issues in our district, and how will you elevate the voice of our community to address them?
I'm not if anybody knows me, I'm not a speaker. I can't speak for long, I start shaking. But I'm a doer. So if I'm elected again, I'm continuing what I started and fighting for all children of District 28. And working with different councils and also our superintendent and get the work done. I'm not a squeaky wheel, as they may say, that makes the most noise. I don't like speaking public, but when I start something, I finish it and I'll get it done. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to make sure the order, I don't want to miss anybody. Should I start from the first? Get moved.
Yes, so
Okay.
we put Barbara at the bottom, so you can go ahead and start with Kenneth, and then the list is stayed the same, but yeah.
Okay, so Kenneth Jin.
Hi. I feel like we're in great need of resources. I feel like the money is there, but we're not seeing it. We're only seeing a very little bit of it. So resources are very important, and it allows our kids to grow. And without it, they're going to be left behind. And as they get into high school, get into college, they're going to need the best knowledge that they can possibly have. And it starts here. It starts with us. It starts with the school system, with us advocating for them. And we have to do the best we can to let it be known that we expect the best and we want the best for our kids. And if they're not willing to listen, then we have to keep at it and keep letting them know that we're not going to stay silent on this. We need their help. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next candidate would be Naimia LaCroix.
Yay! Got it right. Yay! So yes, the 2 last candidates did bring up some issues that are important, one of which is reducing, as per the CDC COVID guidelines, from 6 feet to 3 feet for kids. I have a 4, almost 5-year-old, and if anyone who has that age range know that they like to hug and touch, and that whole 6 feet was limited anyway, 3 feet is going to be problematic. The other thing that we have to address is the teacher shortage. Lots of teachers are either retiring or leaving or not coming into schools. We have to address that. And a lot of their teachers are also parents. So you have teachers who are doing a dual role, right? They're also parents. We have to extend some type of empathy towards people who are, this is their profession, but they're also sending their kids, and they're exposing themselves during COVID-19 as well. The other thing is, Bill DeMasio, our mayor, has then said that we are going to have all schools fully funded. We don't know what that looks like. So fully funded, will our kids have full access to the right equipment and the right technology and the right books? As someone who's graduated from the public school system and had a pretty good education and had AP classes, I can also tell you that some of our books were out of date, right? And not readable, not legible. How I would address that, build teams on the ground. There are parents who cannot attend PTA meetings, and the virtual thing works for them now. Find different ways to reach out to our parents and have them advocate on the ground as well. As long as you can reach the people on the ground and the parents and get to their level and say, this is the things that are important and here's how you can help, then we can do that. So I would build teams and build groups to help us solve these problems. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next candidate is Nancy Lugassi.
Hi. I think that it's not a simple answer, right? I think some of the most pressing issues really are understanding how are we actually going to gauge the knowledge gap in how are we going to make up, it's not even about making up for the lost time. How are we going to identify this knowledge gap? How are we going to factor in children missing basically a year and a half of school and attempting to keep up with the curriculum as it existed pre-COVID. So I think we need to understand a way to assess the knowledge gap, accurately understand it, and attack it from all sides. I also think we really need to figure out how we can reach these children where social emotional health is concerned. Because right now, remote children, full-time hybrid, they're going to come back in the classroom together. And all of these children are going to bring all of that emotional baggage in with them. How are we going to prepare now and prepare better in the future to address these shortfalls? And then how can we use our schools as a true support system to address those needs? It's not just about the knowledge gap. It's not just about the social gap. It's both of those things. How are we going to reintegrate children back into the classroom? And the thing that I think is paramount that has to be a part of all of this is how are we going to mend the relationship between parents and the DOE? Because it will not work if it's just coming from the school or coming from the administration or coming from the parents. Right now, these are three opposite sides, all trying to pull apart from each other. How do we bring them back together? And how can we do that so our children sit in the middle of it? We need to figure out communication outreach programs. We need to develop a social media strategy so that we can raise awareness. And we need to understand now, while the schools are still open, where we can start thinking about hitting the ground running in September. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next candidate will be Ted Chang.
Hi, everybody. Ted Chang. So in terms of elevating voices in our district, which I think is important, one issue that came up during this council term was, we sent a survey out, and what we found was that there were 5 to 10 schools where we got basically 0 responses. And it's a known fact in survey research in academia that certain demographics will often respond less to surveys and things like that. And so it's really a concern to me that when we talk about the voices in our district, that we often are getting a disproportionate response from the district. And I would really like our council to work on figuring out a way to make sure that all the voices in the district are heard. And that means talking to families that have a student in temporary housing, and talking to families with a student with disability, and just making sure that all the different subgroups are represented, and that we're not missing people when we say that we're speaking for the district, because that really concerns me. I think it's really inequitable when you base the council's opinion on a very small, subsection of the district, and it's very hard because we have tens of thousands of families in the district, and we only have, certain, 100 or 200 that attend any one particular meeting. I do think that after 2 years of being on the council, I've realized that we have vastly different families with very different points of view. And it's important to find ways to unite and bridge divides and opinions. We need to hear and acknowledge the concerns of all our families and find ways to make these discussions constructive so that we can move forward together as one united district. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next candidate, Alyssa Bryn.
Would you mind repeating the question? I just want to make sure my answer is on point.
Sure. What do you feel are important issues in our district, and how will you elevate the voice of our community to address them?
Okay, thank you. That's like such an important question. So, I've been traveling around, taking the bus because I don't drive, to different schools in the district, including schools as far away as Q40 in Jamaica, to schools basically in my backyard. And parents are telling me consistently they need the schools to resume full-time in-person instruction as soon as possible. That is one of the issues that comes up again and again and again. The academic gaps. People are seeing their children drift away. I am seeing my child drift away. I am a stay-at-home mom who's an NYU graduate, from law school graduate. I'm seeing my child drift away. And not just the academic gaps from COVID, but the academic gaps that existed beforehand. Learning habits. Many of us would not have given our children access to electronic media. Our children now have it, thanks to the DOE. We need to roll back a reliance on electronic media as soon as possible. And then, of course, wooing back the students that left the public school system. I recently read applications for next year's kindergarten students are down 12%. And how can the DOE get those families back? Well, ideally with a clear commitment to resuming full-time in-person learning, and by increasing and maintaining the programs that parents rely on, like Gifted and Talented. How can we elevate this? Well, in my view, any way that is legal, professionally appropriate, and won't lead to a mention in the New York Post, okay? That was a joke, by the way. This is an election year. The candidates are out. I've been reaching out to city council candidates and expressing my concerns. Obviously, I don't have the same access to mayoral candidates. As CEC members, we'll have access to the superintendent. We should use any influence that we can bring to bear to assist the families that are relying on us. And if that doesn't work, we go to the wider community. We knock on doors, we knock on synagogues, we knock on churches, any communal organization that will have an interest. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our next candidate, Ralph Greer Jr.
Thank you. I think some of the things that are most important right now is one, safety for our school children from high school all the way down to elementary school, and also being better prepared for a state of emergency like this and any other in the future. Then it would be education, making sure that we have quality education for our kids, as well as resources, the necessary resources for kids that are struggling, as well as may have some type of mental issues and things like that. And fourth would just be able to be that sounding board where they'll know that, look, we mean business when it comes to our kids. Another issue is that I heard someone mention that they were trying to make it mandatory that the kids take the vaccine, which I think is crazy, because we really don't know what side effects or how it's going to affect our kids. And I think we really need to let them know that we're really concerned about that. And I think that my part would be able to be that sounding board, be that voice, not being scared of the bullies that usually bully us and tell us what to do, but let us know that this is what we think is better for our children. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next candidate, Howard Pollack.
Thank you so much. It's a great question. I mean, we have in District 28, 40 elementary and middle schools, nearly 40,000 students. And there are so many urgent and critical issues affecting all of them. Not the least of which is the fact that our children are not where they would have been but for the pandemic, and I'm speaking educationally. Number one. Number two, there are issues involving class size, issues involving technology, issues that are important involving bullying and respect for all and promoting tolerance, issues concerning getting more parental involvement in our schools, issues of equity for our schools in every part of the district. Each of these things is important in and of itself. So what we need to do as a CEC is use the power of our bully pulpit. Use our meetings. Our meetings are covered by reporters, by elected officials. We need to make sure and elevate these issues so that the elected officials in the community and the media understand what we're all about, what's important for our kids, what's important for their education, what's important for them to succeed. That is how I would look at all these issues and how I would elevate them and make them important and make people who understand, just make them understand that our kids are important too. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next candidate, Gary Zadanowski.
Yes, thank you. I think the most important issue is getting all the schools open safely. And while we hear that they do plan on opening schools, we don't hear any plans on how they're going to go about doing it and get our children caught up to where they should be. The past 14 months that they've lost as far as in-person learning, the subjects that they've not had or haven't been taught properly, but also the social development, being able to bond with people, to interact with their peers, that's been lost. And I don't hear anybody discussing ways on how you can repair that damage. This is something that's really going to be affecting our children for years and years to come. And that's a pressing issue that goes beyond just education. The other aspect of it is getting more parents involved, because it seems like nowadays a lot of parents just want to leave their kids with the school system and think everything is going right. And a lot of parents just probably don't even know what's really going on and where things need to be caught up with. So it's working with the parents, enlightening them on what's going on to help get them involved so they can be heard, but also worry about the children and how do we get them caught up in a safe way where they can not just catch up as far as education, but socially and developmental wise in all aspects of their character. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And we have Lu Zhao.
Hi, thank you. Again, thank you for reverse the order, and it really helps. Thank you very much. Yeah, I think everybody very passionate about going back to school after the pandemic. I think we will go back to school. Everything will go back to normal. I actually don't worry about that much, because sooner or later that will happen, and based on scientific evidence that should be conducted orderly. Like with vaccine, the rate of vaccinated people, increase. I think it's become much safer. A lot of things can do orderly. Once we go back to school, it's not only we go back to normal, we also go back to a lot of problem we had before the pandemic. So it wasn't like, it was very peaceful, everything goes well before the pandemic. We have a lot of issues to resolve once we go back to normal. And the rule of thumb, I always think the rule of thumb of policy is, if this policy is easy to do and easy to present, most likely it's not very helpful. So that's a lot of problem happened before the pandemic. We have a lot of policy put on, the education system, so we really look at it and say, okay, it seems like they're targeting a very important issue and for a very good, intention, but it tend to be very easy to present because, they want to say, okay, this is what we achieve. And very likely underneath it, it's empty or even harmful. So give you a very quick example. For example, we all want to reduce violence in school. So there's two things: reduce violence in school or reduce the number of suspension in school.
Thank you. We'd like to thank all of the candidates for all of their really great answers to our 3 questions. We're actually going to wrap up this evening and give each candidate 1 minute to give a closing remark. And if we can reverse the candidates again, that would be great. Perfect. That way, then we can go in the same order. So Barbara, if you would like to please give us closing remarks, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. As I said before, my name is Barbara Williams. I'm seeking your vote for a seat on CEC 28. I just need the opportunity to finish what I started. Thank you, and have a good night and good luck to all the candidates.
Thank you. The next candidate is Kenneth Ginn.
Yes, I make a pledge to attend, if elected, all the meetings so that I can see our officials eye to eye and put the students first. That said, I want to say it was a very big honor to be a part of this evening. I'm very proud of the candidates that participated in this with me this evening. Each one of you, you care about the students as much as I do. You care about making this a better place. And so any one of you that are elected, I'm very proud of what you've had to say and where we're going to be leading our students in the future. Thank you all, and God bless.
Thank you. Next up is Naimia LaCroix. Please give your closing remarks.
Hi, so thank you, everyone. Thank you to all the candidates. I did learn a couple of new things from all the candidates that did speak. As a parent of District 28, all I can say to the parents who are going to be making an election for the next CEC 28 person is make the very best choice that you can and always advocate for your children. This is not your first and nor will it be your last opportunity to advocate for your children and children who look like you and children who are in your district. We are all parents, and thankfully so, and we have with us the task of grooming these incredible people who will be the adults of the future. And so we will do our very best to show up for them. So make the very best choice for yourself and always, always advocate for your children. Thank you so very much for having me.
Thank you. The next candidate will be Nancy Lugassi. Please go ahead and give your closing remarks.
Thank you. I want to thank the panel for hosting this tonight. I want to thank all of the candidates. It was a pleasure to be among you. I guess I'll just leave you with, I am a District 28 parent, and I will advocate for every child in District 28 just as hard as I would advocate for my own. I truly believe that we can come out of this stronger as parents, as people, as students, if we work together. And I think there is a really big opportunity here to shift and change a lot of things that were broken about our education system before this and create a true partnership with parents so that we can make it better in the long run. So thank you very much. And I hope you'll consider voting for me.
Thank you. The next speaker is Ted Chang. And if you could go ahead and give your closing remarks, you have 1 minute.
Hi, everyone. It's an honor to run for the CEC again. I would just like to say that, I guess what I bring to the CEC is a lot of background knowledge on educational policy issues, background knowledge on educational rights issues, and I supplement a lot of that background knowledge with active education contacts around the city and attending meetings. One example of how that worked for our council this year was the 30-year fight for educational funding that has been happening in New York State. I got wind of the budget negotiations that were happening. I called all my council colleagues and I said, we need to have a special meeting. And we had a meeting in the final week of budget negotiations and passed a resolution for school funding. And our district is going to have millions of new dollars as a result of that new funding. So I think that's an example of what I can do.
Thank you. The next speaker and the next candidate is Elisa Bryn. Thank you. I can't read above, so you have 1 minute for closing remarks.
Thank you so much. I just my final thoughts. One of my mottos is anything worth doing is worth doing well. This expression was literally woven into my DNA and spoon-fed to me by my parents, each of whom studied and worked their way out of poverty in the South Bronx. It's also a definition or reference for how I will approach this role if I am elected to the CEC. And, just adding on, New York City spends more on education per pupil than any large public school system in the country. And we, the parents, everyone listening to this is funding the public schools through our taxes, while also paying a lot to live here in Queens. Each of our children, no matter where she lives, if it's the fanciest house in the Gardens or a very modest temporary housing situation, is entitled to a good education at her local school. Thank you very much, and please vote for me.
Thank you. The next candidate to speak is Ralph Greer Jr. You have 1 minute for closing remarks.
Thank you. It's very interesting that we're all reading from the same book. And when we were ready to start our chapter, we all started off the same way. Children come first. The education comes first. The safety comes first. And the ability to be a sounding board for them is just great. I wish everybody the best of luck. Some of us will hopefully be chosen, and some of us will hopefully be there to be a member and support whichever one of us are elected. And most importantly, our children come first. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Howard Pollack. You have 1 minute for closing remarks.
Thank you so much, Jessica. I want to continue to serve the school community on CEC 28 because I believe there is more important work to be done. The quality of our children's education is and always will be my top priority. And I don't want to see that threatened or jeopardized by any proposals from the DOE. I'm a fighter, and I will bring that personality to the CEC. I will fight to see that the children of D28 get their fair share of city resources, and that each of our 40 elementary and middle schools receive the type and kind of individualized assets that they need to better serve our district's 40,000 students. Thank you so much for your time and hopefully for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Gary Zedanowski. You have 1 minute for closing remarks.
Thank you. I'd like to thank everybody attending tonight. It really shows that people do care about the children and that they want to get involved in making improvements to the system. As a candidate, what I can bring is just the newness. I'm not a politician. I'm not somebody who's been involved in many meetings like this. I'm just a parent, and a parent who cares not only about my child, but about the other children that attend the same schools, but also the parents and how they're being left out in the children's education. So as a candidate, I just want to bridge that gap to make sure that we can to get parents more involved and make sure that they're informed on what's going on and do what's best for our children. Thank you and good night.
Thank you so much. The next candidate for a 1-minute closing remarks is Lu Zhao.
Hi, thank you. It's an honor to be here, to talk to everybody here. I think I want to just emphasize one thing very important, that I'm not running for this as my, just for myself, for my own ambition or anything. I want to be a representative of the parents, and we want to do things right for our children. And this is very important for our children's future, for our entire society going forward, for our city, for our community. I think there's a lot of things we want to talk in detail. For the time's sake, we cannot, but the conversation should continue, and we should reach out to our parents in the community through all the organizations, through social media, and we want to hear from the parents. We want to voice their voice. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much. This concludes part 1 of our candidate forum. We will have another candidate forum tomorrow evening. I'd like to thank Pamela Johnson, Learning Times, all the translators, and the District 28 community for joining us for this meeting tonight. Our thanks to the candidates for their participation and to our families for coming out to learn more about the CEC elections. Be sure to share your notes with your family and fellow parents and caregivers. And of course, make sure to vote. The voting begins May 1st and runs through May 11th, 2021. If you have questions, you can contact the elections team, and their email address is listed here. And again, this candidate forum will be recorded and will be available on this website. I hope everybody stays safe, wear your mask, keep socially distanced, and we hope to see you join us tomorrow as well. Thank you.